Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the father of modern Turkey. He inspired many politicians, including Winston Churchill, originally an opponent in the First World War. He even earned a certain recognition from Adolf Hitler, which Atatürk took rather unfavorably. When he manages to rid the country of the occupiers, he decides to take matters into his own hands. And in such a way that not one stone remains upon another. He transforms a backward country into a developed state, introduces compulsory school attendance and Western clothing, and gives women rights they have never had before. Even today, he is almost untouchable in Turkey. It can be said without exaggeration that only very few countries have in their history a person like Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. He stands at the beginning of changes that create the modern Turkish state. That state, compared to earlier times, is finally based on a social and economic model inspired by Western civilization. Military career. Some sources differ in detailed information about his family and the circumstances of his birth. However, they usually agree that he is born in Thessaloniki, which at that time is part of the Ottoman Empire, today part of Greece. He is named Ali Oğlu Mustafa, son of Ali. His father, Ali Riza Efendi, is a soldier, official, and later a merchant. He dies when the boy is 7 years old, and the boy is left only with his mother, Zubayd. In 1893, he sets out on a military path and, after completing military schools of several levels, during which he adopts the second name Kemal, he joins the Ottoman army. During the First World War, his career rises steeply. He also takes part in the battles at Gallipoli, where he successfully defends the peninsula against British and French attacks. But the Ottoman Empire is eventually defeated by the Allied powers and its territory is divided among them. The West as a model. While the Ottoman Empire collapses after the war, Mustafa Kemal organizes the Turkish resistance movement to stand up against the occupiers. After he manages to drive them out in 1922, he is recognized as a liberator. He creates a nationalist movement, and in October 1923, a new Turkish republic is proclaimed. With its establishment, intense efforts to modernize the country begin. The new government analyzes the laws and constitutions of Western countries such as France, Sweden, Italy, and Switzerland, and adapts them to the needs of the Turkish nation. Mustafa Kemal also pushes through a number of significant political, economic, and social reforms that fundamentally change Turkish society. The country becomes a secular state with democratic principles. It is not ruled by religious leaders. He also enforces an educational reform with the vision of compulsory primary education for both girls and boys, and a curriculum known as unified education is created, which limits the influence of religious circles even in education. And you will wear hats. He also contributes to the transformation of Turkish agriculture and foreign relations. Starting in the autumn of 1925, the new Turkish leader encourages people in his country to wear modern European clothing. One of his acts is the abolition of the traditional headwear called the fez and the promotion of wearing hats. State officials are required to wear them. Based on the new civil code, he takes a big step toward granting more freedom and rights to women, who thus gain equality with men in matters such as inheritance or divorce. He also decides to introduce a new alphabet for written Turkish, based on a modified Latin script. It serves as a replacement for the originally used Arabic script and is a great help in the fight against illiteracy. In 1934, he adopts the name Atatürk, Father Turk, also translated as Father of the Turks. Turkey around Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. When the Republic of Turkey is founded in 1923, the lives of local women take on a different dimension. The Turkish Civil Code sets their equal rights in marriage, and on December 5, 1934, they also gain full political rights. There is no logical explanation for politically depriving women of the right to vote. Women must have the right to vote and to be elected, because democracy demands it, because there are interests women must defend, and because there are social duties women must fulfill, says Kemal Atatürk. From the 1935 elections, 18 female deputies are elected out of a total of 395 representatives. That is more than elsewhere. In the British House of Commons at that time, there are only 9 women out of 615 members, and in the American House of Rep. At the core of Ataturk's reforms is the conviction that Turkish society must modernize. Which means carrying out Asara's representatives, women hold only 6 seats out of a total of 435. Of changes affecting not only politics but also the economic, social, educational, and legal spheres. Mustafa Kemal and his Republican People's Party, CHP, begin these changes starting in 1923. They begin by modernizing the constitution and adapting European laws to the needs of the new republic. This is followed by thorough secularization, limiting religious influence and modernizing the administration, with special focus on the education system. All of this is meant to separate the new state from its Ottoman predecessor and adopt a Western way of life. After Ataturk's death, his successor İsmet İnönü continues the Kemalist-style reforms until 1950. When the Democratic Party defeats the CHP in Turkey's general elections. A turning point year. The year 1919 is so important in the life of Mustafa Kemal that he later lists it in the encyclopedia as the year of his birth. Even though he means it symbolically, he is not far from the truth. A new stage of his life begins, and with it a new beginning for his country. In this year, he issues the Declaration of Independence, leaves the Ottoman army, and begins the Turkish War of Independence. He also creates the National Assembly and becomes its leader. It also appoints him as the supreme commander of the fight against the occupiers. On August 30, 1922, final victory is achieved during the last offensive against the Greek forces in Anatolia. In 1881, he is born in Thessaloniki in the family of a military officer and merchant. Of his 5 siblings, only one sister, Makbule, survives into adulthood. The other 4 die in childhood. 1905, he graduates from the Ottoman Military Academy in Constantinople. 1908, after taking part in a number of anti-government actions, he fully turns his attention to his military career. In 1911, he goes to fight in Libya, which was attacked by Italy and was then an Ottoman province. A year later, the First Balkan War breaks out. 1913, during the First Balkan War, he is assigned to the defense of the Gallipoli Peninsula in the European part of Turkey. He also fights in the Second Balkan War, then becomes a military attaché of the Ottoman states based in Sofia, Bulgaria. 1916, after the outbreak of the First World War, he returns to defend Gallipoli. He also reaches the Eastern Front and, as the only Turkish general on this front, defeats the Russians. Eventually, he is appointed commander of the army in Syria. 1919, in May, he launches a nationalist revolution in Anatolia. 1921, he establishes a provisional government in Ankara. The following year, the Ottoman Sultanate is formally abolished, and in 1923, Turkey becomes an independent secular republic with Kemal Mustafa as its first president. 1923, he marries Latif Yüzakilgil, the educated daughter of a shipping magnate. However, their marriage is not happy, accompanied by frequent arguments and misunderstandings. In the end, they divorce in 1925 without children. 1924, after Turkey is recognized as an independent state under the Treaty of Lausanne between Turkey and the Allied powers from 1923, the Caliphate is abolished. At the same time, religious schools and courts are also abolished. 1934, surnames are introduced in Turkey. Mustafa Kemal adopts the surname Atatürk. 1937, signs of deteriorating health begin to appear. 1938, he succumbs to liver cirrhosis. Atatürk's remains are originally placed in the Ethnographic Museum in Ankara, but in 1953 they are transferred in a sarcophagus to the mausoleum in the Enkabir complex overlooking the capital.